Hello, everyone, and welcome to Every Womyn Her Dog, a podcast where we talk about the things women whisper about in kitchens, voice note to their friends, and think about at 2 a.m. I'm your host, Joanne Lee, coach, therapist, and change maker. Each episode, we explore the realities of womanhood and cover topics ranging from identity shifts, feminine cycles, to self-leadership, relationships, burnout, and ambition, bringing to the surface the quiet reinventions happening behind closed doors for women. This is the being and becoming of personal agency. Let's get into it. Welcome to today's episode of Every Womyn and Her Dog. Today's conversation is one I think so many women are quietly living inside of, even if they don't have the language yet for it. We're talking about coping, because a lot of women have become incredibly good at coping, holding it together, getting on with it, functioning, showing up, ticking the boxes. From the outside, it can look like they're doing fine, but underneath that, many women I talk to are exhausted, disconnected, running on survival mode while calling it normal. Somewhere along the way, we start confusing coping with thriving. We've learned how to manage stress, suppress ourselves, override our bodies, and just keep moving. But not necessarily how to actually feel fulfilled, nourished, connected, or even alive. There's a big difference between surviving your life and actually being in it. So today, we're unpacking that distinction. What coping can look like in women, why so many live there for years, if not decades, and what begins to happen when a woman realizes she wants more than just getting through. I'm joined by Katelyn Dwyer-Taylor from TaylorMade Digital Support, mum of 2 girls, and woman behind the scenes helping me bring so much of my work to life. Welcome, Katelyn.
Thank you.
So, ladies, flick the kettle, grab a cuppa, and pull up a chair as we drop into this space together for today's rich, intimate, and revealing episode with just the 2 of us. Let's go.
I feel like this conversation is going to hit home for a lot of women because coping is often praised. If you're functioning, still getting things done, still managing everyone and everything around you, people assume you're okay. But I think a lot of women are quietly realizing, I'm coping, but I'm not actually thriving. And there's such a difference between surviving your life and truly feeling connected to it. So today, I really want to unpack what coping actually looks like, why so many women stay there for so long, and what shifts when a woman realizes she wants more than just survival mode.
How's this topic feel for you today, Katelyn?
I have so many things to say.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it.
Should have brought some tissues.
That's okay. All parts of you are welcome.
So, what does coping actually look like in women? I think a lot of us imagine survival mode as falling apart, but often it looks very high functioning. And I think, personally, very high functioning followed by a massive meltdown.
Yeah.
What are some of the signs that a woman is coping rather than truly thriving?
This is interesting because the signs can differ depending on the women and what setup she has in her life and her world. Some of the signs that you're coping rather than truly thriving is that you're getting everything done but you just don't enjoy your life. That there's not really a lot of positive talk going on for you, either internally or externally. And there's a gentle undertow of resentment possibly building. Not that they want to be resentful of positions where they're sitting or what they're doing, but they just can't seem to shake that. Or it can be some other signs that a woman is coping rather than thriving is that feeling of just getting through things and never feeling like that dynamic shifts. I mean, in different seasons of our life, we're looking at different versions of what coping would look like. And I think it's necessary for us to be coping in some stages because we can't be on all the time, and there's going to be ebbs and flows of what that looks like. But what I feel like we're talking about here today is a consistent lived experience of coping, not, a cyclical space where, oh, hey, I'm down in my sort of bleed time and I'm not holding on to my emotions as well as I normally would, and then, that being counteracted with your superwoman time and feeling the ebb and flow between the two spaces. I think that is normal, and we have been told it's not normal. So there's a little bit of conditioning to start with. But I definitely feel when I'm looking for signs of not coping, I'm seeing certain things turning up, like constantly feeling like you're in the same place all the time, like a repetitive pattern. And that repetitive pattern is not a pattern that serves you. So whether that's a self-sacrificial pattern, or whether that's a pattern of same people, same experiences, or different people, same experiences, and not being happy with that. Also, like, where's your felt sense sitting? Like, are you happy? Are you feeling like it's not okay to be happy? And what would be driving that? Who's told you that? Where does that messaging come from? What meaning-making frame is in place for that? I'd also say that, like we just touched on before about that cyclical nature, which you always hear me talk about because it is at the centre of our feminine-centred living, is that if we're not in touch with that cyclical nature, we don't have this beautiful, authentic guidance going on for us, we would be just coping because we're sort of living against what's natural, how we're naturally set up from the inside out. I had a conversation with someone the other day about how they always say women are so organised. And I'm like, well, of course we're organised. We've been organised internally since the minute we cycled. And our bodies does that every single month. And we know if we're not living in conjunction with that, things feel off. And you might not even have the language around that because maybe you're not living in conjunction with that and you can't explain why there's this feeling of off-puttingness, or that you're always trying to play catch-up, or that you're always doing those things, and then by fluke every now and again you're like, oh, that was really good, that really worked, but you can't replicate it. You don't know how to. You don't understand the mechanisms going on underneath that. What do you feel from your perspective or learned experience or observations? What do you feel like coping is rather than thriving? We haven't really gone into the thriving part yet, but we're still in the coping part.
I thought about it the other night, and I think sometimes it's hard because I'm still in the depths of
The
baby
mother season.
like because she's 12 months and still not sleeping through the night. So I'm still in the depths of baby season, and I did think the other night, whatever lovely hour it was, is this all there is? And I was like, is this my life? Just exhausted? Like, what is the point? And I was like, what am I doing this for? If this is going to be every day. And I feel like every day is just get through it till bedtime. And so I feel like for me, the coping just looks like surviving. Just get through the day to the next day. And I would love to see what thriving looks like.
Do you think there's an alternative?
I do. I'm always like, what else is, like, what more is there? And because I always think I'd love to live my best life. I don't know what that is.
Like, what's your felt sense of what your best life would look like at this season? Because it changes in each season, and there's always going to be elements of each of our female seasons, maiden, mother, Marga, crone. There's always going to be elements of those seasons that we're like, there's going to be that part that is a challenge. and maybe like the peak of that period could feel overwhelming at times, or so like that happens in all seasons of our life as a woman. And also, like, we know from a yearly sort of perspective, if we just zoomed out for a second, summer's a full time, right? It's long days, warm nights, everyone's sort of, you're packing everything into your life. There's summer seasons of so many periods of a year even. Like, there's a period of that year, and there's a wintering period of a year. So even though you might be in, say, your mother season from 25 to 50, there's still an autumn, a winter, a summer, and a spring of that season. So there's always going to be peaks and points of relaxation or wintering in that space. So there's that element of it, I feel like, needs to be considered for all of us. Like, that's going to come. But what would be looking different for you in this period that would feel and that you would experience better? So you've said your best life in this season.
I was looking at some pictures before today.
Yeah.
This morning.
Yeah.
Who says before today? I was looking
prior to the podcast.
I was looking at some pictures this morning, like going back to watch the girls age in reverse. So like going back to Annie as a newborn, and then Ellie, and then back to her as a newborn, and just looking at the photos of, Ellie 18 months old and us spending the day together, and like seeing those photos, remembering how that felt to have the time to spend with her and enjoy it. Whereas I feel like, and I was working when I was working from 4 or 5 months with Ellie.
Yeah.
But we still had 2 days of the week together, plus the weekend. And now with Annie and Ellie, 1 day of the week with them and the weekend. But it all just feels really rushed. And everything's a chore. I feel like I would love to just have that quality time with them where I don't have to worry about, getting to work the next day. I think that's what puts the pressure on them most.
The Debbie Downer.
Yeah, because it's not that I like, I've got to go to work tomorrow or things like that. It's that, if they're up during the night because they're sick or they're upset or something, instead of being able to nurture them and care for them and give them what they need, I'm just worrying about how much sleep I'm not getting and that I still have to go to work and function the next day. Because I think, back to whatever time period, and they're in their village and they have their babies and they're just mothering their babies. They're not worried about the baby not sleeping because they know they can have a nap later.
Maybe.
They can hang their washing out and have a nap.
It does take a village, and we are talking about a different time in space. But do you think that there's a possibility that the way you might be framing it up could be attributing to how you're feeling about it?
Probably.
Because we all do it, right?
Yeah.
It's not just you. We all do it. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I feel like I might have. There was a time when I was like, soccer training, I got to get out of the night time. But then I had a quick look at, it was with my eldest, and I was like, this is going to end soon. And it changed the way that I looked at things. It wasn't like your period of not sleeping at night is going to end soon.
Yeah.
So
hopefully.
It definitely will.
It will end.
It will, but we also know the direct link between how a mother feels and her sense of restlessness or exhaustion, and how that transpires through to our children, and how they turn up very, like, sort of replicating our internal frequency.
Yeah.
So it's like, how could you set your frequency just a little bit differently? I'm not saying you need to paint it up to be a picture that it's not. Like, that wouldn't work either. Perhaps I wonder if just approaching it with a little bit of, like, why do you need to worry about tomorrow today?
Yeah.
You know, why do you need to be, you're going to work tomorrow. I heard this really cool statement the other day and I've been using it a lot, or even on myself. I had a moment with it this morning. I was like, oh, look at you go. But I was watching a podcast and one of the people on I like how I say I was watching a podcast because you know how podcasts are like video these days as well.
Yeah.
We haven't got there yet, guys. We do snippets, but we haven't got there. But I was watching it and this gentleman suggested, we're talking about how to really get ahead of yourself, like how to set yourself up in right relationship with your day and how to be your best advocate. And he's like, do things that support your future self. And I really was like, that is quite profound. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking at that. So, for instance, if you know that if you get your clothes ready the night before, right? If you know that's going to help your future self tomorrow without sending yourself in a dizzy, it's like it's a 5-minute investment, right? Yeah. If you know that's going to happen, if that's going to support your future self, then do it.
Mm. Yeah.
So if it supports your future self to stop worrying about having to get up to go to work tomorrow and just be present and in the moment, then why not do that?
Yeah.
How's that landing?
Yeah.
Does that feel like something that you could actually use and apply?
Because I already started in the last week, baby steps. Mm-hmm. I can make some change. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the mornings are just trying to get 2 girls ready for daycare, and they're both on different, I wouldn't say schedules, routines, because, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to get them ready separately. The 4-year-old's getting much better at getting herself dressed, but there's still some tricky items of clothing that can't get off. Shirt's too tight. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what can I do that's going to take that little bit of pressure off the morning so I'm not running around like a crazy person and stressing myself out and stressing them out? Because the whole point of, this new season that I'm in work-wise, being able to have a bit of my own schedule, was that so I don't have to rush them in the morning. That was the whole point. So it was just as simple as packing, like their bags are always packed with what they need, but for Annie, the baby, she still has formula.
Yeah.
So packing her 2 bottles and her formula amounts the night before.
Yep.
Makes a huge difference. It doesn't seem like a big task, but pouring out those 2 bottles and...
It's time. It really is time.
And it's just that little 2 things that I don't have to do in the morning to take a bit of pressure off. And it does make a huge difference, knowing that it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to the coping thing and sort of expanding on what you said, coping to me feels like life without design.
Yeah.
Like life without feeling like you're in the driver's seat and being a victim of all the things that you need and have to do in the spaces that you have to show up.
Yeah.
And not actually making conscious decisions about what's really important to you in each stage and phase. So like you said about doing Annie's bottles the night before for daycare, I remember being in a space where, because I had 3 kids, where the mornings were off their head and like just hectic. And I felt like I was getting them out the door and it was so energetically debilitating to me because I was like, I don't want to be talking to my children like that in them. I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be...
Get your socks on.
Exactly. So it was like, what do I need to put in place here for myself first, right? To make sure that it's a more... Because my mornings are like when I work in these spaces and understand about, the setup of your day is really important because it's a flow-on effect through your whole day. Yep. I was like, how do I make the mornings more harmonious and have more flow and set them up for, a good day at school, set myself up for a good day working? I don't want to be feeling like that sort of, angry ant in the mornings. I want it to be like, I wanted it to be easy. So I did do, very similarly to you, I moved a whole heap of stuff to the afternoon, evening. I went, lunches get packed, bags are ready at the door, uniforms are out and ready to go. Like, and as my children got older, they're not babies anymore.
Yeah.
It's like the eldest is then leading the way for the middle child and so on and so on. But it's like a non-negotiable, like this is what we do in my house. And make sure that those things don't, and them taking responsibility for that, because I was raising people that I want to see make their way in the world.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen by me doing everything for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm teaching them independence at the same time. So they only had to get dressed, brush their teeth, get their lunch boxes out of the fridge, and have breakfast. They were the 4 things they did every morning. That was it. And it changed my whole entire morning. There was no more nagging. There was no more anything. And early on, I eliminated TV. We don't do TV in the morning. That was just an absolute nightmare if the TV went on, because what TV and screens and kids go. So it's like off. But what I did do was put music on, music that they liked as well. So it motivated my household into a way that they felt like they were starting the day on the right foot, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we still have the TV on. But that kind of started more as essentially Ellie would be ready and I'd have the TV on so that she would leave me alone so I could get ready. Annie, not so much interested in the TV. But now I have noticed some of the mornings, especially when it's really cold, when we get up, I put them both in Annie's room and I shut the door.
To play.
And they just play together. And I can get myself ready, and then I'll get them dressed in the same room so that we're all ready to go. It kind of, sometimes the mornings look a little bit different routine-wise. Obviously, sometimes they're hungry urgently. It just, depends on how it goes. But when I have noticed the more organised and set up I can be, it's more calm. But then also, it's allowing time for those unexpected things to happen.
Absolutely. Because there are meltdowns.
Well, there's meltdowns, there's tsunamis.
There's our own personal meltdowns, unexpected phone calls. There's all manner of things.
Trying to find the clothes that you hung them on the line and it rained. So then you've got to find something else to wear. But then the other morning, Ellie just threw a big curveball at me. And, don't make promises you can't keep. Because the night before, she had said, "Mummy, can I please have a packed lunchbox tomorrow?" So the daycare provides meals, but they can bring a lunchbox of extra things if they're still hungry. So one of her friends does this. So she asked me, "Can I please have a packed lunchbox?" And I was like, "Sure, no worries." Forgot about it, and she reminded me the next morning as we were about to walk out the door, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." She had done everything right. She had asked me the day before. She had reminded me. So I was like, I have to go make you this lunch. But because I had already, I'd already done the bottles and everything, I had that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't absolutely manic trying to get this. It was a bit like, I don't have anything to put in this lunchbox.
Yeah.
But I did have the time to do it.
And like we're talking about things from a mother perspective, if we sort of strip that back for a second, and we're talking about just coping when you don't have to be mothering, we might be talking about the fact that you don't get out the door to go to a gym class, or you don't get morning walking or exercising in because you haven't fed yourself in the right way the night before, right? You haven't prioritised yourself because you're dragging the chain because you keep offering out all of your energy to other people and work and other spaces and not putting yourself on an even priority. And I know that's really challenging to a lot of us, especially in the mothering season, because we feel like everything else has to come first. But is that actually the deepest truth? Like, there can be a place where all things exist and you don't, like, it's sort of, it's that whole work on yourself to be the best version to everybody else. So if you prioritise the things that you need to do, to set a flow state in your house for either yourself or your family, then we're looking at a very different experience. We're looking at life by design. There can be curveballs, but we're looking at intentionality. We're intentionally setting up those spaces and those conditions for us to move into the thrive zone. So when we ask it, what's coping rather than thriving, if I really narrowed it down, I'd say coping is playing the behind game and thriving is playing the forward game. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I'm definitely juggling the two. Like, there's still, well, I told you about all the laundry I still haven't folded. Constantly playing catch up.
I've got laundry I haven't folded and I'm not looking after kids anymore. So yeah, that's right.
Yeah, all those things. But I guess at the same time, sometimes we haven't folded the laundry, we haven't washed the dishes that night because we're exhausted. And sometimes we haven't done it because we've chosen to spend our time with the girls instead. So kind of comes out in the wash a little bit.
It can. I think you just need to make choices sometimes where it's like, what's going to work for our tomorrow's version as well. Like, what's more important? And then coming to your other question about why can this sort of state of coping be normalised? Well, it's been modelled for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could have easily been part of your environmental conditioning growing up, that you saw your mother or women around you putting everybody else first and not learning how to normalise that it's okay for you to balance that. And you've practiced that. So what you practice becomes permanent.
Yeah.
And then you're not quite sure how to break out. You're doing it even though you don't like it, but it's become habitual.
Yeah.
And so you have to make a conscious choice to shift that, and that takes effort. And then people go, I don't have enough energy for that effort. But it's like, well, what do you want more? Like, when you bring it down to the bottom line, what do you want more? Do you want to keep living like that and you want to keep having that lived experience, or do you want to make change?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last thing is, like we talked about before, that feminine-focused, feminine-centered living, where you understand that there are peaks and troughs, and you give yourself permission to go, I'm backing off a little bit here because I am in this sort of trough stage, or the dark moon / cycle menstruation phase of the moon and my cycle, and I'm at peak period. I can actually get more done than what I usually do. And noticing the difference and being okay with both. Learning how to support yourself through both spaces and places so that you don't get, the big B word, burnout. Because then what are you doing then?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. So you touched on, it takes effort. That kind of leads into our next question.
Yep.
Why do you think so many women learn to survive instead of fully live? And my brain, before you said effort, I was like, it's just so much effort. It takes effort to, and conscious choices to come out of that.
I think it's about what's most important to you. That's what it comes down to. So I think women learn to survive instead of thrive because they don't question what's the most important thing here. And I think there's an overall sort of, well, let's be real, as soon as you start cycling, we're dictated to by the terms and conditions of estrogen in our body as a hormone. That makes us, I heard this the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, that is just the most profound, tiny nugget of insight that really explains the difference between someone that is under the influence of estrogen and one that isn't. So there's two young ladies. One is under the influence of estrogen, so she's gone through Monarch, she's had her first bleed, and there's another one who isn't. Now, the young lady who isn't cycling yet, she says, I'm hungry, right? And she's like, I need to go and find myself something to eat. And she goes and finds herself something to eat. And the young lady that's cycling and under the influence of estrogen goes, I'm hungry. Are you hungry? Would you like something to eat? How are you feeling?
I do that all the time.
Right. So that hormone is actually kicking in all the time and putting us in a space, for better or for worse. It makes us amazing mothers, right? Because it helps us be able to consider other people and be, family and community minded. And I mean, we've got that innately in us as women anyway, but that really sort of puts it on steroids, so to speak. So, and then we go into our Marga stage and we're like, we start to move away from estrogen, and then people go, I feel mean. Or because they've had 35 odd years of being under the influence and being in that space where they've considered others, and it's probably doesn't feel as natural to us to be, but there's nothing wrong with either perspective. It's just a different stage and place. So when we talk about, the survive instead of live, some of that is happening hormonally for us. And then we see what's modelled. And then we don't understand our feminine cycles. So we're coming back to sort of a very similar space where, and so then we come to that part where we talked about, well, what's important to you? We're not questioning that. We're just rinsing and repeating, rinsing and repeating. And that hormone is kicking in the background all the time, supporting the rinsing and the repeating. And we're not in that space where we go, so what's more, like, I can stop here for a second and just consider myself for 1 minute, which then in turn considers everybody else. And go, all right, so what's really important to me? Oh, it's really important for me to have a smooth morning, because that helps me, but it helps everybody else. Do we consider those things? No. Are we asking those questions in other spaces? Not really. Not until we move away from our good friend estrogen. But by that stage, for some women, they have become so self-sacrificial that the pendulum swings the other way. They're also going through their next rite of passage, which is menopause, and they're feeling quite burnout or angry. I feel like I would be in the minority of women going through perimenopause and menopause. I'm loving it. I'm excited by it. I'm not excited by all the conditions, may I just add. I'm not getting excited about some of those, pathology parts. But I know they're there. But I am in this beautiful space where I know what's happening to me. I'm educated about it. I'm acceptive of it. I don't like all of the elements of it, right? But I'm empowered by it, and I know what it's giving me.
But it's similar to, being pregnant. Like, well, we don't love the whole thing, but we're excited about it.
Most of us are.
Most of us, yeah.
But I do find that any of us sitting in a space of not being resourced or having that deeper understanding of what our true rites of passage are as women, we push against them because that's what's been indoctrinated against us. We've been told to spiritually bypass them, or there's mechanisms in place for us to just skip over things rather than lean into them. And as women, we have this amazing stewardship of the psychic, emotional landscape of ourselves and others around us, yet we don't take up because we don't know, a lot of women don't know that it's normal for us to be sitting in those spaces. Like, that psychic, emotional landscape is a space where we tend to our families, not just our children, but our communities. And we work in spaces and places where we're always, women come in and they're like, okay, so what's the problem? What's going on? what's really going on for you here? Or that we sense, though, that psychic environment, that energetic environment. Yeah. We've got the feels, right? Yeah. Because it's in us as women. We have got this, unspoken stewardship that we're managing those emotional spaces for a lot of people, but we're not doing it very well for ourselves sometimes. It's sort of, it's there, but we don't truly understand the deep interaction we have with those spaces. And you can look at communities, families, groups that haven't got anyone tending that space. They become highly dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a power over paradigm, like quite dictatorial. Whereas when you've got the other going on, when that emotional landscape is being tended, people feel seen, accepted, held, and safe.
Yeah. Just reading one of the questions here. Mm-hmm. How does constantly being in coping mode disconnect women from themselves, their needs, and even what they truly want?
Well, I'd like you to answer that question.
Well, that's what I was leading
to. So let me ask you, Katelyn. How does constantly being in coping mode disconnect you from yourself, your needs, and even what you truly want?
When you're in coping mode, I don't have any time to think about what I want. It's not even, doesn't even come up. Connor asked me last night, for the 100th millionth time, what do you want to do for your 30th birthday? And I was like, I really don't know. And then I sat there and I was like, you know what? Because I never actually took the time to sit still long enough to really think about what I wanted. I was like, I don't know what I want. And then I was like, no, I do. I want a quiet weekend. I want some little cabin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to be in like a little cottage in England or something. That's not happening. But like, no, like
we
a nice...
can go Victoria for England.
Yeah.
I'd suggest Alsford.
Yes. I was like, I want like a cute little cabin. Well, I don't want to hear any traffic. And I was like, I just want like a craft weekend.
Okay.
Just like,
yeah.
And because he was like, do you want like a weekend with the girls? And I was like, it doesn't even have to be the girls. Like, you can come if you want to craft.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, that's what I want. I just want...
Do you want time to yourself?
Well, not necessarily by myself.
But
maybe.
If you weren't considering everybody else's needs here, Katelyn,
yeah.
and you were just considering what you truly, deeply, profoundly wanted for yourself in that space.
Yeah, and like part of me kept stopping myself because I was like, I just want to be in a cabin, quiet, and I want to do craft. I want to do a variety of craft projects. And I kept stopping myself every time I wanted to say, I don't want you there, and I don't want the girls there.
Because you don't,
as in the children.
Mean I don't love you, and then I don't want you around. It just means
because then he was like, what about your friends? And I was like, maybe, but maybe not the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe a night, just a night in a bed by myself. And a bath, like a big bath.
Mm-hmm.
Something, yeah.
And what feels bad about asking for that about yourself?
I don't know. He did say, he was like, because he said, why don't you, because previously I wanted to go to Sydney to see some musicals.
Yep.
Those musicals have been and gone, so I've missed that opportunity. And then I said, but I'm anxious about leaving Annie, because I do miss them. And it like hurts.
It's okay to miss them.
And he's like, but I'm going to go away on a camping trip and I'll miss them, but I am going. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know. It's a little bit different. I was like,
Is it different?
I'll have a night. I don't know. I think I just think about it a whole lot more.
Is it different? Or is it that you're framing it up for yourself differently?
I don't know.
And is it okay for two things to be true at the one time?
Yeah.
Is it okay for you to go, I really need that, and that's what I need and want?
At the same time, yeah.
And it's okay for me to miss them at the same time, but they are okay?
Yeah, I think part of me is more worried about how they'll feel. Like, Ellie will be fine. She'll have a grand time with whoever she's with. But then, part of me worries, like, what's Annie going to think?
But what if she's not going to think anything?
Then I'll be offended.
Well, that's interesting. What's really interesting is you're tapping into this quite unique space where I do a lot of work with a lot of women in understanding how much you're embodying other people's discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's like there's power that comes out of discomfort. It changes things for us. It's a catalyst. But if you are assuming somebody else is uncomfortable or going to be uncomfortable, and like within reason too, like, you know, you're not going to go and dump your child in a corner for a weekend and go, oh, I'm not taking her on her discomfort. Like, let's be, you know, we're talking in reasonable terms here. But if you assume that they're going to be uncomfortable, and you've done all the best things you can to make sure that they're in a space where they are loved and cherished and all that type of stuff, then what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is she going to be uncomfortable because she's vibing off you worrying about her discomfort? Yeah. Or is so is she going to get that, or is your thinking that she's going to be uncomfortable, is that going to seed that? Like, which way is it going to go?
Yeah. And then I won't have a good time.
Well, exactly.
I would have manifested.
And would you have thought about, what about the other scenario where you would have been thinking about that the whole time, and A, you don't go?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or B, she has a great time.
Yeah.
And you've spent your time
worrying
and embodying a discomfort that doesn't even exist. And it's so interesting because, like I said before, those places of discomfort are catalysts for us to learn and grow and expand from. So if you've ticked the boxes in terms of, you know, you've got she's home with dad, you know, she's loved, she's all those types of things, he's not going to interact with her. No two parents do the same parenting. You get similar themes, but they don't do the same parenting. So something that you wouldn't let her sit with in discomfort, he might let her sit a little longer, and that teaches her something new. So then all of a sudden she might be able to soothe herself a little bit better, or she might be able to play more independently, or we're not talking about big bits of discomfort, we're talking about small bits. But because as mothers and daughters and sisters, we're always thinking from the estrogen perspective about the comfort of others all the time, it can be problematic for us. It's learning how to balance that out.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Even thinking about not as a mother, but it's people pleasing.
Well, yeah, that's always catering to your perceived amount of discomfort for somebody else.
Yeah. You're
behaving in a way that is not about you. People pleasing. Yeah. People pleasing is always about other people.
Which is interesting because it's been implied and said that I'm doing things for myself and not thinking about other people, but I'm constantly thinking about other people.
I think for a lot of
especially
people,
when I try and plan things. I don't like to plan things anymore.
Well, it's so interesting because then what we're talking, so somebody else's discomfort in that space might be about the mirror effect. Like if you're doing something quite efficiently and you're good at it, that can go, oh, here's a mirror to that person.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they don't like that. They don't like being... And it's only our own ego that says to us, oh, you're not good at that. Like, that doesn't exist. But why? Like, if you want to get better at something, get better at something.
Yeah.
If you want to model off that person, you know, use that as your inspiration to get better at it. But what we do is this the self-sabotaging, downplay, oh, I'm not good at that. I'm so shit at this, you know, da-da-da-da-da. Or I become competitive.
Yeah.
And we see that with women all the time. As soon as, in many women, not all women, but as soon as we get to a space where, like you've just said, perhaps someone is intimidated by your capacity to show up in that space, and you're doing a good job and you're coming from all the right places, they see you as a threat. Unfortunately, that's been indoctrinated into us as women, to compete against each other all the time rather than straighten each other's crown. We've got to knock it down.
Yeah.
It's an old philosophy. It's a very old patriarchal, internalized patriarchy that we carry around as women, that there isn't enough, or we can't all work together to find, we're all going to have our strengths and weaknesses. Like, that's the reality of human nature.
Yeah.
But to be intimidated by that, as opposed to being intimidated by someone, like, through what they've said or how they've behaved towards you in a physical form, that's a completely different way of interpreting intimidation. And it's rife. It's rife through a lot of our feminine lines because of what we've been taught. So then we circle back to, the coping mode. How does it disconnect women from themselves? So it sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? Coping is disconnecting. It's putting everybody else first and playing the behind game for yourself. And I also will say, I believe that there are mechanisms and indoctrination that we have been made to digest that says if you are not being self-sacrificial, you are a bad mother, or you are a bad daughter or a bad woman, like that everybody else is supposed to come before you and somehow they need to be... I teach this process, or I don't know that I'd call it a process actually, let's just call it a tool. You know how you see a lot of women that when their kids leave, they become like they don't know their own identity, right?
Yeah.
They become quite lost and disorientated, or when a woman or a man, when they have a breakup with somebody and they just cannot get it together. They keep sort of going over and over and over like a cud in a camel's mouth, like regurgitating all of the details and then chewing on it and then swallowing it back down and doing it over and over again. That is because in the scenarios that they've been living their lives, I call it the spoke theory. So at the middle of a wheel should sit you in the centre, and then all the spokes that come off the middle of that wheel are the elements of your life. Your children, your family, your career, all of the things that you have in your life. If you're at the centre of the spokes or the wheel and one of the spokes gets taken away, you can still function because you're at the middle, right? Yeah. You're holding it all together. You're at the centre of all of those spaces. And then you'll feel the gap. Okay, the spoke isn't there, so it won't feel as supportive as it has been before, and then eventually there'll be a spoke that comes into its place again, yeah? If you're not at the centre of that, and you put your partner at the centre of the wheel, and you are a spoke, that centre is taken out and gone, and that centre was the mechanism for making choices by. So I'll take this career path based on what's at the middle of the centre of the circle. In this scenario, we're talking about a partner, right? I'll make choices about my interaction with family based off the centre, which is your partner.
Yeah.
And then this continues to happen over and over again with the person, which is the partner, who never asked to be at the centre, may I add, right? Being the main theme of which your decision-making goes through. And so take the centre out, all the spokes start falling away, and you're one spoke left with a big gap. Yeah? So that happens at empty nest spaces when women have put their families at the centre of the spokes, and all decision-making has been about the family and the children and not them. The spokes, children go, see you later. what happens to the spokes, we see lots of relationships break down because sometimes it's been only the kids that have sat in the centre of that wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see they've decided not to do other things. So all the other spokes that are sitting there are quite vacant. And then they're just sitting there with their little self-spoke there, not at the centre. How's that land for you?
I could think of so many things I can relate to that personally, but then other things I've seen.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
Yeah, and especially if you're making decisions based on somebody else who's at the centre, and you are losing all those spokes, it's also a bit like relationships you've lost because you've made a decision based on that one person, and then that person's left your life. All these spokes have fallen away in a bad way because you let them control your life. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, when you start looking at it like that, and I do usually do a visual representation of that, and you start to see the gaps visually and see how it's set up, everyone goes, oh.
Yeah, and it's not saying that you can't make decisions
with other people in mind.
Yeah, thinking 100%. About other people, but
it shouldn't be the only mechanism that's in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're
sure.
always putting others at the centre and not yourself, you're not being considered at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what actually starts to shift when we realise we don't want to just cope anymore? What changes in the way we relate to ourselves, our energy, relationships, standards for life?
Space starts to happen. A space where you actually are saying, what's important to me here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you become more intentional with the way that you're setting things up, which creates more space in your life. And then you're able to have boundaries where you're like, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Or what are my decisions based off? Like, are they based off consideration for myself and others here? Or are they, where am I coming from? Am I sitting in the passenger seat or am I sitting in the driver's seat? And when I say space, I also, what comes with space is ease, flow. It doesn't mean you're still not going to have the peaks and the troughs, right? You're still going to have the summery points and the wintry points of seasons and spaces or activities and commitments, but they're going to feel of your choosing as much as they can. And there's also going to be a sense of personal agency in everything that you do. And rather than being reactive, you're being proactive. Yeah. You're out ahead of things.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it comes back to our very first podcast topic.
Oh, wow.
Doing the work.
Yeah.
Like once we can actually commit to doing the work so that we can stop coping and start thriving, everything, like doing the work. Pack the lunchbox the night before.
Yeah.
So, like, taking the time to put things in place. Like, we're not just talking about lunchboxes.
God, no. Remember, I was referring to looking after your future self.
Yeah.
That particular gentleman, he talked about putting $10 in your pocket in a pair of jeans that you're not going to wear for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so funny, this morning, I pulled out
a
$10 note in my pocket and I literally said to myself, oh, look at you go. You set yourself up for a nice little future self moment there.
That's so
but
funny.
It's like, it supports your future self, Like, that's a nice surprise for yourself.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a lift, So where else can you... It's small things, right? It's lots of little... I always say small steps, big shifts.
Yeah.
Because it's lots of little steps joining together that create big shifts in your life.
Yeah.
And when you're doing those consistently, not from a chores-based perspective, but from a what's right for me perspective, and how do I turn up in the spaces that I want to be as a mum, as a partner, as a worker, in my career, all of those, when you're starting to consider what type of relationship you want with yourself in all of those spaces, like you said, doing the work allows you the platform, the tools and the mechanisms and the mindsets that support you to continually move forward in those spaces. Definitely.
Anything else?
Lots. I think so that, you know, right here, my notes are decisions that support rather than disassemble. So that's like setting it, you know, supporting your future self.
Yeah.
If I sit up and watch that TV show really late at night on a night that probably is not going to support me tomorrow morning, that's going to disassemble me. And so what am I giving into? Am I giving into an impulse reaction here? And if I am really, really wanting that, why? Like, it's getting right to the nitty-gritty of where your decision-making is coming from. And it's okay for you to do those things prepared that from a place that you're prepared for what the fallout might be. And that you own that.
Yeah. For the woman listening who is realising she's been surviving for a long time, maybe she's holding everything together externally but internally feels disconnected, exhausted, flat, or like she's just going through the motions. I read this script last night. And I was like, oh, dang.
Why were you dang?
It's another podcast about my life.
In such a great way, right?
Yeah. Everybody's learning through me.
Everybody's learning through me too. Like, I'm learning through me. I'm learning through you. I think, for me, that's what this is all about. It's about the fact that we can come together in spaces and places and actually support each other in a way that we're like, oh, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the huge narrative that is continually fed to us all the time. It's got to be this way. This is you know, it's like, does it?
Yeah.
When did we stop questioning? When did we stop being in a space where we were like, just because that works for Arthur, does that mean that works for Martha?
Yeah. Definitely, I thought last night, thinking about, just coping. I know we've spoken previously around, you know, like women, we kind of have like this competitive, not nature, like competitive thing with each other. I thought about it and I was like, I haven't been coping. I've just been surviving recently, and
which is coping.
Yeah.
I suppose there's varying degrees of coping.
Yeah. And I thought about, I was like, I need help, but I feel like I can't ask for help because there's kind of like this shadow over it that's like
shame
and like people like, it's funny because no, it's not funny.
Good reframe.
Not funny.
I like that.
I've seen it since having Ellie and with Annie as well. I feel like if I have to ask for help, that it's seen that I can't handle being a mother and that I don't deserve to be a mother because I can't handle it.
All right.
And it's so frustrating.
Let's unpack that. I know we don't have tons of time, but let's unpack it anyway.
It's for everybody else's benefit.
It is. And you could take that topic and you could rinse and repeat it in lots of different spaces.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you feel like if you ask for help, it's perceived as your incapacity or your failing as a mother.
Yeah.
And that there's shame attached to that and that somehow you're not enough.
Yeah.
In that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that space, right? So is that what you think people think of you?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
Well, I don't. Yeah.
So you don't know that.
Yeah.
But it's your frame, right? So this is going to be hard. Do you see other people in that space and think the same things about them?
No.
Okay.
I think maybe the small difference is I was once told
Okay.
that I shouldn't have kids because I wouldn't be able to handle it. So I think it makes it harder now. Because I'm like, they were right.
Here we go. Here we go, listeners. This is an active session now. We're going here. This is important. Okay, so you were told that you shouldn't have kids.
Yeah. As a young adult.
As a young adult.
So still,
early 20s, yeah?
Well, no.
No?
Like, I was probably like 18.
Okay.
So
So someone told you...
Who tells an 18-year-old?
Someone told you that you shouldn't have children.
Yeah. Specifically because I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Because you wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Like
Obviously,
manage your time or manage the stress or like what was
I guess
the reference?
whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Which is interesting to say to an 18-year-old. Like, I know there's plenty of 18-year-old mothers younger, but the person I was as an 18-year-old is nowhere near who I am now. I'm still being constantly reminded of who I was as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, well, she's valid, but she's also...
She's grown.
Yes, absolutely.
But at that time, that was really hurtful.
Yeah, so that is a frame that was created for you.
Yeah.
Do you remember what we've spoke about this quite a few times in different places and spaces, as well as I would say it's come up on the podcast or on some content that I roll out, that beliefs are thoughts thought over and over and over again, and then there's an agreement made with it. Mm-hmm. And that agreement is, yes, I believe this to be true.
Yeah, yeah.
So there were a few things that happened to you in that moment when that statement landed. There was probably a part of you that felt like she wasn't quite coping with whatever was going on in her world. And so that highlighted that for you. There's that frame. Then there was the next part where you kept thinking about it over and over and over again, and you've possibly forged a relationship with it that you believe that is true. That in a space and a place where you might have felt that was your gaps or an area that you needed to develop, that perhaps you couldn't do that for whatever reason, right? And then, like you said, from your now version of yourself, you look at her at 18 and go, that's not the same person. So this is where we sit in this space that becomes really hard for a lot of us, men, women, doesn't matter, where more than one thing can be true at the one time. As an 18-year-old, you didn't like what you heard. I'm going to take a wild guess and say it was from someone probably close to you.
Yeah.
So that felt like, the word I'm looking for here is a violation, because that's someone that you felt like you was close to you and that you could rely upon, but they're not seeing you the way that they're not supporting you, they're pulling you down.
Yeah.
So they're not doing it in a very nice way, because there's obviously something going on for them as well at the same time, for them to be saying things the way that they've said them. And what's the purpose of saying that, right? You're not supporting someone by saying that. You're just expressing fears that you might have about your discomfort, that person, their discomfort about watching you move through something that might be challenging for you. But in actual fact, it's your making, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many different prongers going on here. But for you, at that time, you have made an agreement with that statement.
And it still comes up like a lot.
What's the deeper truth about that time of your life? And when that statement was said to you, where were you at? Were you in a space that was feeling like you're 18? Like, let's get fucking real here. It's not like we've all got our shit together at 18. Like, it's quite a tumultuous time. You've just become an adult. And then, you know, you're learning the experience of an adult and going, is this what this is all about? Like, and you're a bit all over the place and like, oh, you can go out into the world, but do you feel safe enough to go? Like, there's a lot going on at 18.
Yeah.
So what was the deeper truth about what was actually happening for you at 18?
I don't know. I certainly, as a teenager, I feel like I'm always haunted about teenage, I'd say decisions, but like, I don't want people to be like, teenage decisions, she was wild. I was not.
Who cares if you were? I will happily say I was wild and free at that time.
I think teenage decisions of how I spoke and what I spoke. Because a lot of the time in adolescence, we don't think before we speak.
We're learning.
And I was going through a period of learning, still am, everybody is. But I was being very harshly judged for that learning.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the deeper truth is that you were discovering who you were as a person.
And not being supported through the process.
And that person showed up and was quite judgmental of you and what you were learning, and probably used a place of what I would call, you know, a pain point about something that you'd considered that you'd wanted to be a mother.
Well, I always wanted to be a mum, just from a child.
Yeah,
like,
so you
I had $500 million.
You had an association with wanting to be a mother, and that felt like quite a nasty stab.
Yeah.
So what that's caused you to, so that was the frame, and what that's caused you to do now is a matrix of things. So from that frame you go, if I ask for help, I will be classed as this.
Yeah.
If I look like I don't have it all together, I will be classed as this.
Yeah.
It was so interesting before, because the cheddar in this is that you said, I'm still being compared to that version of myself or classed as that version of myself, but you're also doing that to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're also saying, I confirm this by doing that.
Mm.
So by not asking for help, I confirm that I am still connected to the identity that all that was happening. So my advice in that situation is, does that serve you?
No.
Mm-hmm. Does it actually mean that you're not coping?
No.
Huh.
I mean, I'm still alive. The girls are still alive.
Does it just mean that everybody has moments and times and spaces where we just need a little bit of extra help, and we're not competing against each other?
Yeah.
Where we're here to help each other out.
Yeah, I still have those moments where, you know, they're screaming or something, and I've screamed back, and I'm like, I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible mother. I can't handle this. Or I think I've done a bad job.
You could keep confirming that
because I've reacted a certain way. But then I look at how clever they are, and I'm like, well, I did that. Exactly. And Connor.
Yes. Yeah.
We both did it. But it's like, well, if I'm such a you know, bad person, or I can't handle this, how did I produce these two little beings that are so, well, I can't say much for the 12-month-old, but the 4-year-old is so already emotionally intelligent for a 4-year-old. I was like, well, how did I do a bad job there?
You didn't. And the point is...
And I have to remind myself that.
Yeah, so you have to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
You have to keep doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah? And learning what loving yourself and putting yourself at the centre of the spoke theory, looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it'll feed out.
Absolutely.
To everybody else.
Absolutely it will.
Mm.
Absolutely. Where are we up
to? What does it look like to move from coping into thriving in a real grounded way? Looks like peace.
It does. It looks like
after the work.
Small steps.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because you're going to get there no matter
100%.
how big your steps are. My steps are pretty little. Like, I have little legs.
But little steps make big changes. Like, your 2 bottles of the night time are making a huge shift in the mornings.
Yeah.
They're freeing you up. Imagine if you just kept doing lots of little shifts like that, lots of little steps.
Yeah, because they'll all add up and you'll get there.
And then there's a felt sense of more, like, personal agency and better decision making and
and those boundaries
and internal language and chatter that's supporting you rather than disassembling you.
So I know I need to change some things. But for the, other women out there, if they know they need to change something but they don't know where to start, what's the first step or what's the next step?
I'd say the first step is acceptance. Accepting that there can be more. It doesn't have to be like this. And it's okay for you to say, it's not all together. Like, it's not working for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first step. It's okay for you to say, it's not working for me, and I'd like to look at what I'd like it to look like.
Yeah.
And I get, like, the perfect world scenario, and then I get the scenario that I've got going now. How can I find somewhere in between? And so it's acceptance first of where you're at.
Yeah.
And then an intention of what you'd like to do. And then from there, we're looking at some really sort of specific steps from there. That's the biggest pivot point, I believe. If we get stuck in this isn't working for me and just talking about the problem, then we're caught in that victim cycle.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about we're in the problem, and we're only focused on the problem. We're not actually focused on what are my options.
Yeah.
Yeah? Moving from problem to solution. And so then understanding that it's normal that there's a place where she can exist or I can exist, as well as all the responsibilities that I have at the same time. That doesn't have to be a one or another, an either-either approach. And that shift is made in a spiral nature. And so it doesn't all happen at the one time. And that's the steps that we've been talking about. So if you think about like a spiral staircase of steps, then it happens. Because if it did happen all at one time, we wouldn't cope.
Yeah.
It would be too much. Yeah?
Yeah.
And our changes don't happen overnight. We don't go from 0 to 5 in, 6 months.
Yeah.
That happens over a period of time because our bodies are moving and changing and supporting in our brain mechanisms, all of the stuff that happens. There's internal as well as external stuff, right?
Yeah.
We need to set ourselves up for continual growth, just like our body does. Even though, I'm 48, doesn't mean I'm not growing. I'm just growing in different ways to what I was when I was younger.
Yeah.
Should I choose that's my pathway, which I do. So the setup for each part of that growth looks different at different intersections. And then depending on where you are in your life cycle, so in terms of whether you're a maiden or a mother, or you're in Marga, or you're a crone, tracking your cycle, because your cycle plays such a huge role in how you turn up as a woman.
Yeah.
And if you're not bleeding, we have cyclical knowledge for you to still be utilising the mechanisms of the menstrual cycle that you've lived with all your life, but don't actually have a physical menstrual cycle. I mean, even when you stop bleeding, I call it the echo effect. You still have the echoes of your menstrual cycle set up in your body. Like, I know one of my female friends who's finished menstruating, she's nearly 60. She's still got sore breasts at the same time, every month, even though she didn't have a menstrual cycle for over 6 years. So there's still echoes in our body of those things, and we still experience elements like the hormonal shifts that our body were used to, but they're not happening in the same way internally. Yeah. And then there's still that capacity to be cyclical, even though we might be well beyond menstruating. So learning how to track that cycle, as well as, we've got the moon as a mechanism to help us follow that. It's so important because it has such a profound effect on us. If you're not working with yourself, you're working against yourself. Yeah. Yeah. So it's an absolute and utter life changer to know what it is what our cyclical nature is as a woman, and being able to use that to support you through your life in wherever it is you are in your life season. And then, depending on where you are in your life journey, gather the resources you need to start making choices that are sovereign to you, that are based off you. So that might mean through books or courses or different things, and qualify that information. Get in there and, what is this going to, what am I taking away from this? How am I going to take this and implement it? Like, intention without action sits in the dream space. It doesn't do anything. So how can I take that knowledge and embody that knowledge? And if that's not something that you can actively, my other big word here is it needs to be sustainable. Mm-hmm. It needs to be something that can be ongoing and sustainable, that can be adopted, that is always in a space where it serves you, or rather than disserving you or becoming a chore. If it's becoming a chore, it's not in the right mechanism for you. And so then seek a mentor or a guide to help frame up where you're at and what do you need to implement and how do you need to do that.
Yeah, 100%, because, or even just talking now, an external person can see so much more than what you can see. I can tell you, so I can tell you all these things and still not see my own picture.
Totally.
So, yeah, having somebody external, unbiased.
Well, they're there for your highest purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes such a huge difference. You can put in so much work on your own, but I feel like you still don't see the whole picture.
We can't. You're at the epicenter.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got blind spots.
Yeah.
We all do. Coaches have got coaches. Mentors have got mentors. Like, they all know. We all know. Like, we've got blind spots. And in order for us to get through our blind spots, we need someone else to help us do that. Like, I am not backwards in going forwards in telling you that I have mentors, coaches, and that I seek, consistently professional development in my own field for myself and for my clients. But I'm more than happy to see a therapist, have a coach, like I have a mentor, I have many different mechanisms, because you're right, when you're at the epicenter, you can't see everything.
No.
Yeah. I can easily have someone walk into my space and go, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what the actual, right? And they're like, how did you, and it's like, it's easy for me to see that, besides the fact that it is my job to see those patterns and help people understand where they're at in the way that's right for them. I can't do that all. I can to a degree for myself, and I might be a little bit more advanced at figuring that out for myself because I do it for my craft.
Yeah.
But I still need the help. And that looks in lots of different spaces for me. That's books, podcasts, mentors, workshops, training. It's everything. Like, I'm consistently going there with that because it's the only way I get to my next baseline, or I expand my identity. Because all this is identity work at the bottom of at the bottom of it. It's like, how do I identify with myself? Which version of myself am I identifying with? Or do I need to grow into this new identity of myself? Because as women, we're living the birth-death cycle all the time.
Yeah.
It's part of us to shed identities. Like you said, I'm not my 18-year-old self.
No, I'm not even my 25-year-old self.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not the same person that birthed Ellie.
Which
as
is
I
normal.
am when I birthed Danny.
It's normal and natural, but we are not told that. And we're not going to go there, but I'm just going to put a little pin in the fact that what's framed up for us is we need to be a certain way said by society, and also, social media has a huge impact on how people are setting frames for themselves about what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, and what's considered I'm making it or I'm not making it, like you said, based off what and who.
Yeah.
You are your own sovereign guide in your work, in your life's work, and I am mine. I can adopt things that serve me and control internal narratives based off what's right for me, but so many people are giving that authority away to places and spaces that, in my perspective and professional opinion, are I'm trying to find really diplomatic words to say this, are self-sabotaging.
Yeah. Right. Another deep and meaningful conversation, Jo.
Indeed. Always. We don't do surface level.
No. But we wouldn't be able to have these conversations if we were sitting in a room full of women who had all their shit together. Because what are we going to talk about?
I think yes and no. I think I went away with a bunch of women on the weekend, so a couple of Marga women, and I think I'm the youngest in the group, so I'm the mini Marga or the baby Marga, and then there's other Marga women there, and it's just that the quality of conversations, we can go to depth really quickly.
Yeah.
And then have super different perspectives, but not be charged by that.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, I think. And so what we're talking about, this is super deep, 100%, and it's not talked about everywhere. It's not the norm for us to be dropping this deep with people that might be at the beginning of their journey or might be in different spaces. But it is these types of conversations that you and I are setting up here that pave the way for permission slips, create permission slips for women to go, it's okay for us to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is how we shift things. This is how we shift narratives. This is how we come together as women. This is how we heal deep ancestral feminine wounding that has existed for over 6,000 years. And this is how we regain right relationship with each other. And then we get to go to depth quick and go, whoa, okay, amazing. So, I think there's so much scope here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I've already made little notes in my mind of future topics.
Okay, great.
So, as usual, Jo gives us a juicy little nugget. What kind of nugget are we talking about? I like to think of a chicken nugget, but it's a golden nugget. I feel like it's a golden nugget.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I suppose if you're hungry, it's a chicken nugget.
Yeah, I like to think of a chicken nugget.
If you're looking for a financial reference, I suppose it could be gold. Nugget. Maybe it could be a seed too.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to go off topic. Not off topic.
No.
I'm talking about nuggets, but in the wrong kind of way. I'm sorry, everybody.
I'm feeling like this is a...
But it was so funny. You'd think you would never find looking at your child's poo nugget as funny as I did last night, because she pooed out one nugget in the shape of a love heart.
You're joking.
And it was the funniest thing. And I was like, I can't take a photo and share this. So everybody, I'm sharing it.
Okay. Thank you for being vulnerable about your daughter's love heart poo.
But Jo's nugget is not poo.
No, it's not. It's not, yeah.
It's good quality chicken nugget.
It is.
So for the women listening who spent years surviving, coping and carrying everything, maybe even if you've just noticed that you're surviving, what might become possible for her if she stopped settling for just getting through life?
Well, it's a fantastic question. Change. Change is possible for her.
Good change.
Yeah, fantastic change. And my nugget on that is invest in yourself, invest in your being and becoming, and you can never go wrong. Yeah. Everybody around you benefits from you investing in your being and becoming in whichever way that is. It's a dividend that keeps on.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
I hope everybody certainly took something away from that. The more we can share our vulnerabilities, the more we can grow, like individually, but also help others.
Absolutely.
Because it was once me sitting there thinking I'm alone and nobody else feels like this or thinks like this. And I think the more people can, you don't have to, but the more we can share about how we feel and our experiences, the more everybody can benefit.
I think for me, my voice was different. It was always a voice like, there's got to be more.
Yeah.
Like it was, I think the loneliness that you describe or that you're talking about was how I felt growing up.
Yeah.
Was that I was different and that somehow that wasn't accepted. But then later on, that showed up as is this really it? Like,
yeah.
There's got to be more. And it didn't mean that I wasn't enjoying my life.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean that I wasn't having exciting periods, but I just always felt encumbered. Like the consistency wasn't there for me. You know, I wasn't able to consistently keep getting, reaching my next space or finding that new identity because there was no shepherdesses to sort of lead me through that. And now I reflect and I look at it, and I did have leaders and mentors in different spaces which taught me how to seek out those things for myself, and that's been part of my quest, is to be that for other people, is to show up as that guide and that bridge and that change maker for women, and to bring back the ancient connection that we have with the feminine divine and how we can be in right relationship with that. So I think for different people it does sit in different spaces, and it's good for us to recognise, there can be different ways that we pick that up. It might be through, why do I keep going over the same thing over and over again, right?
Groundhog Day.
Exactly, rinse and repeat, different person, same theme, right? Or it could be that sense of feeling lonely and disconnected and having no way to feel forward, or that you're in it alone.
Yeah.
Or it could be like it was for me. Is this, like, I feel like there's more, but I don't quite know what that more is, and what does that even look like? Not more achieving and not more getting things. It's a deeper calling than that.
100%. And so I guess for anybody listening, if you want to hear more about wanting more that Joe's talking about, episode 5 is called Wanting More, and we did a big deep dive into what that really means. Yeah, not just on a surface material level.
Yes.
Yeah. So
definitely.
I'm sure something in this conversation resonated with many of our listeners today. If you'd like to explore working with Joe, check out the links in the show notes for And She Rose, which is an experience that's currently travelling around Australia and could be a really powerful place to begin reconnecting with yourself beyond survival mode. And for women wanting something more personalised and deeper, you've had a little bit of a taste into what that's like today. Jo also works privately with women inside her Embodied Woman one-on-one container. We'll pop all the links in the show notes as well.
And thanks, Katelyn, for your insight and vulnerability.
It's
worries. Not always easy opening yourself up to the big wide world that you're opening yourself up to.
It's for the greater good.
It absolutely is. And thank you to all our listeners for joining us for this episode of Every Woman and Her Dog. Looking forward to catching up with you all in the next conversation. Firstly, a deep thank you to our guests today for their honesty, wisdom, and the courage to have those real conversations. If something's landed for you today, don't brush it off. That pull you feel, it's your next edge calling. If you'd like to explore working with me, hit me up on my socials or on my website at joannelee.com.au. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself because you're worth it. With love, Jo.